Hey guys, I want to talk about Twinmotion again. The My favorite thing about this tool is the kind of barrier to entry. It sounds complex if you mention all the things that you can do with it, but then messing around with it is massively simple. And when I'm trying to learn Python and get really good at Revit, and then get good with the BIM 360 platform and Navisworks and Bluebeam, I think it's important for these other tools that tie for visualization, whatever the tool is, even if it's a design tool, if it's easier, then I can get in there, leverage it, use it for all these other things, and then not spend a lot of time kind of building the foundation that I need to kind of use it efficiently. That doesn't mean that you can't use that tool or Twinmotion in a better way, in a faster way, and that there's these little tips and tricks. Obviously, every kind of tool has that, but what's nice is you don't need to know all that to be pretty good at it, or at least get in there and actually build something that you know looks pretty good. So if if you haven't seen this model before, it's actually Brian Myers. It's from his LinkedIn Learning course, and I had it on here, and I actually took it, and then just for kind of personal practice, I took the original one because he did. I mean, from just my opinion, I think he did really awesome. And that doesn't weigh as much as if you heard that from Brian Myers. So you'll have to go check out his actual course, building this building. And I think he's if he hasn't already, he'll be releasing a newer course. But he essentially goes through from ground up building a residential house, and he really goes into detail with all the things that you need to know about building it. And I think it's all these tools are applicable for commercial use as well. So I grabbed this and just wanted to play around with it because I knew it was modeled correctly, and kind of change it up. This one I think is the original one, so I'm not entirely sure if I had changed anything, but it's an easy model. You can actually go, if you have a LinkedIn Learning, if you're signed up for that, you can actually just download this and play around with it. I definitely recommend it because it's a good model to work with. But I just want to show it in Twinmotion. So up here, see it in Twinmotion. I'm hoping this will be a quick one. So I don't think I showed this in the last one. If you do have Twinmotion open, it'll here have this direct link, and then you can say existing projects. So maybe if you want to tie it into one that's already created, you can do that. If not, you can select new, and it's going to pull it into this environment. So as you see, it brings in everything, and it brings in some of the materials. It doesn't look the best, and I think there's some options to kind of play around with to change that up. And from what I can tell, this is kind of like the Twinmotion is its own environment where you're going to be working with this model as well. So you may be applying different materials, and I'm not entirely sure what you can do with these different things. So if you did want to apply different materials, how it would react to it. Maybe we could take a look at that real quick, actually. So, as before, I don't know if you saw the other video, but I mentioned that when you have a direct link with the Revit model, it's not going to let you mess around with the Revit model itself, but this entire environment it will. So you can go in here and start placing different stuff, but you couldn't necessarily grab a wall and move it, or grab the entire building in sight. So let's see if we can just apply something. Yeah, it looks like I can't do that. Well, you know what? Never mind. I was doing it wrong. So if you select it, it looks like it's selected, and then you come in here, it actually just reselects that wall. So select it, and then it doesn't really let me apply it. Oh, down here. So it looks like we might be able to do that. No, that grabbed it. So either way, this kind of disproves my point that this tool is easy, but I'm just making it a little bit more complex than it should. So over here, if you just grab, whatever the material is, drag it over, you can then see it on there. So you can apply materials, it looks like, to a building, and it doesn't have any problems with it. And let's see what it'll do if we actually re-export that out. And then, so yeah, well, you know what, just to make sure that we actually do something, what we'll do is shift this window over a little bit. Let's go into Twinmotion. Let's actually make sure we can see that window, and then I'll kind of scale this down so that we can take a look at it. Alright, I'm having problems with that grip again, so I'll just kind of, so we don't really need to look at the Revit model. I just need to click that button. So we'll click that button. We see that the window's updated, and we see the material stays. So just kind of what I thought. So essentially what you can do is come in here and start applying a whole bunch of different materials, and then applying, different assets or whatever these are called in this building or outside this building. And then still be working in the Revit model, making changes as needed. If you needed to move some walls or doors, or maybe add a few things, you could do that and then re-push it back in here. But what the cool thing is that we can apply different materials, we can apply different assets into this environment, and still have the ability to push from the Revit model. So with that direct link, I think that's very useful, especially if we're doing design changes in Revit that we kind of want to keep, and then maybe in Twinmotion we're kind of applying stuff, maybe for just trying to get a visual effects, different visual effects, or maybe kind of decking out a room to kind of show what the potential uses are and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if this works like SketchUp or some of those other tools where we can create like a separate scene or something, so that we can show off different materials pretty quickly. I don't see anything like that. But yeah, I just wanted to show this. I thought this was pretty cool, that little update, and really just kind of give you a real quick preview of how easy it is. And again, like I said before, it's the to have something this powerful be this easy, it's really nice, because then you can spend other times like focusing on Revit and really kind of developing your understanding of how the Revit interface, and actually how the back end and how all the data works in it, and then also leveraging tools like Dynamo and some of those more complex things, and then tools like this where we can do really kind of impressive visually things. We can we don't have to spend as much time in these tools. So that's what I think is really cool. I can still focus on learning Python and not, spend a heavy amount of time, learning how to create really cool stuff, because I want to use these tools. And that's what was really nice about Inkscape, was it's just a direct tie-in with Revit, and then you have a really awesome model, that visually you can look at. I think this is, if anything, these could be competing softwares. I'm not entirely sure. For now, Inkscape does really well in that kind of integrated direct link with the model and actual Inkscape environment. It also, in Inkscape, the materials and the shading and stuff like that kind of comes through a little bit better. So there's that as well. Again, this is probably going to develop a little bit more, but I definitely recommend checking it out, and I would love to hear what people are doing. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks a lot.